Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Italy Travel Podcast. I'm Nathaniel Mullimer.
And I'm Darcy Melton.
And we are back in this heat wave, just scorching of a day, talking about Vietri Sul Mare, picking up where we left off on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And as always, I just want to say a big, massive thank you to everybody who has been listening, who has been following along, who has been leaving comments, who has been just donating their time to learn about Italy. We both genuinely appreciate it. If you'd like to follow or leave a comment or leave a review, you can do so wherever you listen to podcasts or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, which are our two biggest distributors, I think. I think it's everybody's two biggest distributors.
Yeah, most people just listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
That's fair. And a massive thank you to our first ever Rigatoni tier member on Patreon. We deeply appreciate your support. If you'd like to check out our Patreon, you can. Patreon.com/The Italy Travel Bag Podcast. I almost said only a bag. I have forgotten where we are now. Last but not least, we do have a website, onlyabag.com. Here, I knew it was somewhere, where we have tons of articles written by Darcy and myself for all of your Italian travel needs, hopefully.
Yeah, and if that doesn't meet any of your needs, if you have further questions, you can also reach out to us on our website. We have a comment section.
Comment box.
That's the one. And you can reach out for any questions there. And once again, we have collaborated on this episode with Larry's Coffee. Larry's Coffee is a certified B Corp small batch coffee roaster out of North Carolina, Raleigh to be specific, and something that we are really passionate about as people and travelers is being ethical and sustainable. We talk about that a lot on the podcast, and that's one of the reasons that I love Larry's Coffee. Their coffee is certified organic and fair trade, and they have direct relationships with farmers. Plus, their coffee is super good. What's your favorite one?
Genuinely good. I prefer the Blue Ridge Mountain Blend.
Yeah, represent those Blue Ridge Mountains.
Represent the North Georgia. And I mean, North Carolina, South Carolina, everywhere there's blue.
West Virginia.
West Virginia. Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Almost heaven, this cup of coffee.
We've been singing that coffee. We've been singing that song a lot lately.
It does. It comes up out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I really want to try the Bad Kitty blend
Mostly because we have a
Coffee.
cat who...
Yeah. And I just like cats. Bad Kitty.
fair.
It's amazing. So go check out Larry's Coffee. And if you purchase a bag of coffee through our link in the description, that is larryscoffee.com/onlyabag, you'll receive a free pair of handmade grass coasters from fair trade artisans in Guatemala.
Which is incredibly cool.
I know. They're beautiful.
And thank you again, Larry's Coffee, for collaborating. We appreciate
Thanks so
it.
much. Y'all are awesome.
So, Vietri Sul Mare, we talked about the sort of the feel of the town, the vibes, the energy in the last episode on Wednesday. Today, we're talking about, well, I guess first where it is, which we already sort of talked about, but in case this is the first time you're hearing it, it is the first town on the Amalfi Coast. So Salerno is considered the gateway to the Amalfi Coast.
First from the south.
First from the, yes, from the south, but I think from the east,
Yes.
if you will.
Yes.
And then I feel like technically Positano is the first from the west.
Yes, I see.
It's also kind of a strange thing because when you're not looking at a map, you might think that the southern half of the Sorrentine Peninsula, the Amalfi Peninsula, is the Amalfi Coast, and the northern half is Sorrento. And that is true. However, Positano really only goes, like, that's the first town coming from the west, and it's like halfway along the peninsula, whereas Sorrento is almost at the very tip of the peninsula on the north side. It's just kind of interesting to know that, like, once you pass by, especially on a boat, you can really tell.
Yes.
Once you pass by Positano, there's a few little villages here and there, but none of them...
kind of a lot of wilderness.
And none of those villages are technically considered part of the Amalfi Coast, like the sort of the 13 towns that make up the Amalfi Coast.
It goes from Positano to Vietri.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Vietri is the first town from the east from Salerno. So Salerno is like usually considered the gateway to the Amalfi Coast because everybody has to get there to get to the Amalfi Coast. And then Vietri is the first town you hit. And when I say first, I mean like 5 minutes.
Yeah, we took a public bus from Salerno to Vietri Sul Mare, and it was supposed to take like 11 minutes. I think it took like 5 minutes. We were there in no time.
We were there in no time. And just for clarity, when you say public bus, it is a city bus.
Yes, sorry.
They are all there are some private buses, but the Cita Sud, which is the other bus there, is also public.
Yes.
In the sense of the public can access the bus, not like publicly owned. But yeah, no, so it's right there. And then it's a little bit strange because it's like right there, Raito is right next to it. And then there's a little tiny gap, like maybe, I think it's 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes before you hit, I think, Chitara, which is the next town. So it's an interesting kind of sensation where it almost doesn't, it's very much feels like the Amalfi Coast. And at the same time, doesn't. It almost maybe feels like a satellite town of Salerno, almost a little bit more, I think, than...
I can see that, especially because the port of Salerno really kind of butts up
Oh my
against
gosh, doesn't it
Vietri.
ever?
So it kind of feels like a little town outside of Salerno because of the port, really.
It's actually fascinating if you do go. And if you've been, then you actually probably remember, because if you take a bus from Salerno to the Amalfi Coast, you will pass the same way everybody else does, over the port.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because you can tell the different generations, if that makes sense, of when Salerno grew. So
Yes.
like there's these really beautiful like maybe late 1800s, early 1900s buildings up above the port quite a bit, that maybe clearly were sort of like hotels at one point that would have been along the road to the Amalfi Coast, or they're just really beautifully ornate, nice buildings. And then down near the port, there are a bunch of like, again, maybe 30s, 40s apartment buildings, gorgeous apartment buildings that are almost directly under a more modern highway overpass. And so there's an interesting sense of it once was a much smaller port, and then at some point they revamped it. And they didn't really knock anything down, which I think I like, because you didn't knock down history, but all of a sudden the port, the historic port area is just kind of an interesting...
It's an interesting juxtaposition, for sure.
Yeah, because you're also very much in the middle of nowhere. I think you have to kind of get to anywhere by the... Well, it's a bit of a walk. But the city bus is the easiest way. And I say that too because sometimes when you are booking things in Salerno, you might think, oh, Salerno Port, that's a good location.
Oh, good point.
It is literally middle of nowhere.
Right. It's not like staying in the Naples port.
Yes, it's not like saying the Naples Port. In fact,
Or the port of Sorrento.
Or the port of Sorrento. Because in fact, I think almost all of the ferries that you will be on actually leaves from it's the Concordia port, which is the more like a tourism port. One or two of the larger lines, like the Grimaldi, the ones that will run to like Sicily or Sardinia, things like that, they leave from the major port in Salerno. So that could be easy if you're going there. But if you're just going to like Capri, I think, they will leave from Concordia typically. That's a lot about ports that you probably didn't realize that this episode was going to be on. That's very cool. You're welcome. So that is where Vietri is. And then also in that, I also mentioned how to get there. Bus.
Yes, so Vietri is really easily accessible, like Nathaniel said, from Salerno. You can take the city bus. It's really inexpensive. You just get a bus ticket from a tabacchi, like we've said in so many other episodes, and hop on that bus and get over to Vietri. If you want to come from the Amalfi Coast by bus, you want to take the Sita Sud bus. That is SITA space SUD. They operate all of the buses basically around the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah.
You can also get there by ferry, which is a fun way. We always say it's a really fun way to see any of the coastal part of Italy, is taking the ferry. So you can go, I believe, from Positano, Amalfi over to Vietri. You can come from Salerno to Vietri via ferry. It's a great way. It's a fun way to get there.
And I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think, so you mentioned Positano and Amalfi. I don't think you can get from like Chitara or Erche or something like that to Vietri because of how the ferry system kind of works, or how Travelmar specifically is the main one I'm thinking about. They do like the hub and spoke sort of thing.
Right.
So they bring people from like Salerno to Amalfi, and then if you're going to like a smaller town, you switch to Amalfi. Same thing with Positano. So I think there are ones from Salerno to Vietri, and there might be like then go to, maybe Chitara from there, but it might not. Getting to, like we've talked about, getting to Positano, it's like every 30 minutes there's a ferry. In the high season in the summer, every hour, usually when it's not in the middle of the summer. So Vietri can be a little more difficult to reach by ferry, but that also means if you wanted to, you can get there via one-way bus, for example, and then leave via ferry.
Yes, exactly.
There's also a train station.
Yes. So the train station is not currently functioning as of, what are we in, June 23rd of 2026. It does seem like they're just doing some renovations on the station, but in general, it should be running, which is really convenient. So you can get from Salerno to the Vietri train station. And then where does it go? It goes up north.
It goes up to Cava dei Terreni, and I don't know if it continues north from there because there's, a whole bunch of regional train stations along the Gulf of Naples. So I don't know if it continues through there, which I believe it does. I believe it ends in Naples. But right now it's a bus replacement, so I'm not sure if they're running a slightly more
modified sort of destinations.
Exactly. Which once it gets back to operating, it seems like a gorgeous way to see it because it looks like from other people's photos and then the aerial view, it looks like a lot of it is outside, which is nice. It's not like in a tunnel
tunnels.
and then all of a sudden you end up in Vietri Sul Mare. It seems like you kind of get this little bit of a view because the train station, strangely, is not at the bottom of the town,
Yeah,
but
it's
at the very
above.
top of town. So it's much higher than in Salerno. So it has to go uphill and then downhill into Cava dei Terreni. It's a very interesting train station.
But this town, and I think we mentioned this in the last episode, it is, I want to say, weirdly accessible in terms of,
Vietri, yeah,
in terms of getting there. Vietri, yeah, just compared to other towns along the Amalfi Coast, because it has the option of getting there by city bus from Salerno, by bigger sort of public bus, Città Sud, from the Amalfi Coast. You can also take that one from Salerno. It just tends to be more crowded. And then eventually, the train station will be open again, hopefully, and also by ferry. And obviously by car, although that road can be treacherous if you're not used to driving on windy mountain cliffside roads. So it is really easy to get there and to go on day trips from there as well.
100%. As a small note, on the Città Sud bus specifically, this is probably not, weirdly, it's not actually something to be too concerned about in the middle of summer where they run more frequent buses. But we've noticed that the bus is slammed leaving Salerno. And rarely do people get off in Vietri, meaning that sometimes they will just not stop in Vietri and they'll keep going. Even if people are waiting for the bus in Vietri, they'll just keep going because they don't have space. It seems like in the summer they run more frequent buses, so it's not as much of an issue. But if you are planning on going out that way, like I'm going to take the city bus one stop, or I'm going to take the Città Sud even one stop, and then get back on the Città Sud afterwards, you might not have as easy a time as it is in theory.
Yeah, I would say, so when Nathaniel's saying they won't stop because there's not room, there literally will not be space for a single more person on the bus because you're not guaranteed a seat with either with the city bus, or Nathaniel's talking about the Città Sud. They pack it full, sardine can sort of full. So there literally might not be space. I would recommend, if you're going from Salerno to Vietri, to take the city bus. It was great. There were people on it.
There's tons going though. That makes it so much easier.
And a lot of people do commute back and forth.
Yes.
So they are frequent. And then if you would like to visit somewhere along the Amalfi Coast, I would recommend the ferry. They can also be quite crowded in the high season, meaning middle of summer, but it is a bit more relaxing and sort of open than the Città Sud bus.
It is, and I think just also, and maybe this transitions slightly into sort of like day trips and where else you could go from Vietri. It's a very different trip potentially, but one place, if you are in Vietri, the city bus actually continues one way. It will continue to Raito, Raito. Trying to sound like very American when I say it, so it comes through easily. That is where one of the city buses terminates. So that is one more town along the coast. It's a little smaller than Vietri. It has a little less going on. But if you're just trying to hit all 13 towns, it's worth it.
Yeah.
You can also take it up. There are two villages, I think would be the best way to describe them. One is a Dragonea or Dragonia.
Yeah.
The other one is Molina. I believe it's just like Molina, I think is how everyone
that's
says it.
how I would say it in American English as well.
I was like, it's just Molina, isn't it? Those are, so I believe it's 3 different buses.
Okay.
Each terminating at 3 different locations. And all 3 of those flowing through Vietri. When I looked at the bus map, it looked like they have 3 buses flowing through from Salerno. So it made it really easy to get to Vietri. But then each of these towns only have one. There's also one going to Cava dei Terreni, which I've mentioned before. That's more of I don't even, it's small city might be overselling it, but
I would say small city.
it's
I would call it a small city.
from an Italian point of view, it's a small city.
Yes.
From an American point of view, I mean, actually, honestly, if you're coming from like England or anywhere else in Europe, small city, I think is still valid. I think just from an American point of view, because people say like Savannah's a small city, and I'm like, it's 100-something thousand people. That's huge for Italy. So I wouldn't say, but it's still it's hubbub. It has hubbub, Main Street, churches. It's kind of interesting as a day trip, just in the sense that it doesn't get many tourists. I mean, it's somewhat used to it, but it doesn't get tons, despite the fact it's near a bunch of tourism centers.
It's more just people living there to just living regular lives.
And it's in this interesting, like geographically, it's in like a bowl.
Is it?
Kind of more of, not a valley feels like a bit of a stretch. It feels like it's a depression, maybe is a better way to describe it, in the mountains of like the Amalfi Coast. So it's basically,
I see what you mean.
It goes up into mountains behind Vietri, and then it goes down into this depression where Cava dei Terreni is, and it goes back up a little bit before it goes down into I think it's like Torre del Greco is around there, which is on the coast, the Naples coast, Naples Gulf side.
Yes.
So if you are kind of looking mostly for kind of getting around to places that are almost certainly not going to be on people's lists.
Right.
In terms of like, I want to go to the Amalfi Coast, but I want a totally different experience.
Yeah.
There are some really interesting options from Vietri that I think would not be a typical experience.
I totally agree. This is almost like a bonus beaten off the beaten path.
Yeah, it really is.
So should we talk about some other things that you can do inside of E3 if you're visiting?
Might as well.
Okay.
Since you're going to be there.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about the ceramics in the last episode, mostly the vibe of the ceramics. There are so many ceramics shops. And like we said in the last episode, a lot of these are active studios as well. So people, it's not just like a showroom. A lot of them are places where people are making the ceramics proper, which is really cool to see. So if you are in Vietri Sul Mare, you will very likely end up on their main street. The bus will leave you like one street above. That's sort of the main traffic road, and then you'll walk down a little bit to the main footpath road, pedestrian road, and that is Corso Umberto Umberto 1, and there are tons of great little ceramics shops all along that street, cafes, bars, all of that.
Restaurants.
It's
the strip.
It is the strip. And then as you walk from, I guess that's like the east side of the city near where the bus lets off, if you walk down that street, you'll end up almost overlooking a gorge, which kind of looks over towards Raito.
Yeah. And it's unfortunately, I think part of that is a parking lot.
Yeah.
I will say they do it better, in my opinion, than a lot of, not the parking lot, sorry. It's because Vietri is a natural exchange, like interchange maybe is a better word, in terms of yes, technically I think the Amalfi Coast Road does go through the Amalfitana. I think it's like SS 38 or something, or 138. Strada Statale, State Street 1.
2 in it.
Is it 2? There's a name, and then everyone calls it the Amalfitana as the Amalfi Coast Road, but it's like Strada Statale, like State Street something or another. And while it does go through Vietri, like the part that you see in photos or movies and stuff really starts just after Vietri. Like you basically are leaving Vietri to get onto that, but at the same little interchange, there's this wild spaghetti sort of like combobulation of different levels. Like you make this hairpin turn straight uphill to go over the mountains to Naples, or to get on the A1 to go down south, or to go under the overpasses to get to Salerno, or go this other road to get down to the beach. It's like, but they do it really well because it's a little outside of town, so it's not something you feel like you're constantly walking through. I've mentioned in Amalfi, it feels a little bit like you're walking through the interchange.
Yeah, Amalfi, the town of Amalfi proper, feels like you're at an interchange, like a
highway, a highway roundabout.
Interchange, exactly. Where Vietri does not. The part of Vietri that you will likely be in is kind of below that, which doesn't sound great, but you don't see it or hear it really.
Near it, yeah. I mean, not even below necessarily, because I think that some of it's one part of it is actually kind of above because you do look down at a certain point. But it's still not. It's like I don't know. It's protected really nicely from it. Did you find the?
It is SS163. Is that what you said?
I said 138.
Oh,
I was kind of close.
I said there was a 2 in it. There's no 2 in it.
But 8 is divisible by 2, so it's something.
Okay.
So
that was very generous of you.
There is a math teacher listening to this just cringing. So I'm sorry for that. And no, so this is all to say that just that position is really nice. And the fact that if you are like renting a car, for example, we have just a small warning, the whole Amalfi Coast car rental thing, you can only drive on certain days. It depends on how your license plate ends. But it's not a bad place to have a car if you're going to rent it. There are parking lots in Vietri that are very reasonable in terms of like $10 all day parking versus I think we were in Positano and with your tour your workshop. And I think the place we were parking was $8 an hour.
And a lot of them are 10. I know when your uncle visited, I think they paid 10 or maybe even 12. Yeah. And then
an hour, by the way, not the day.
No,
an hour.
An hour. And the hourly parking near our hotel in Vietri was €2 an hour.
Something like that, yeah.
So not terrible.
And then $10 a day is great. So there's a lot of parking in Vietri if you are renting a car. And we talked about this kind of in the last episode, like if you were using Vietri as a home base instead of like just a day trip for the visit, plenty of places to park your car, plenty of ways to get around. But again, you are next to this interchange, like that is without having to worry about people walking around again like Amalfi. But you can get to Naples, you can get to the A1 and go south, you can get out to the Amalfi Coast. It's an interesting position for basically getting a taste of the Amalfi Coast without fully committing and then being kind of not trapped, but like Ravello. We've talked about Ravello, which is a little bit up high. Again, it's not on the beach, but there is one way in town that has a 10-minute like traffic light. And there's another way in town that's, I think it's through a tunnel. And both of them, I believe, I don't know if the other one has a traffic light, but it has a way of preventing too many people from using it at once because it's a very narrow road. So it's not quite like those types of town, which are one way in, one way out, and that's it. So it was really nice to know that in terms of just transportation, you have tons of options.
That's actually a really good note that isn't specific to Vietri, but something that we have noticed, I think especially as tourism increases in general, the traffic anywhere along the Amalfi Coast, I would say mostly around Ravello, Amalfi, Positano, all of those places. If you're driving there or if you're taking a private car or something like that, be aware that you will be waiting in traffic.
Yeah.
That is just how it's going to be. It's not that it was a bad day or you got unlucky, that there just is a lot of traffic, especially during the summer.
And a lot of that has to do, not even with like accidents, it's just usually has to do with, oftentimes it's somebody directing traffic somewhere. So they are prioritizing like one direction over, like sometimes the Amalfi Coast Road isn't prioritized if they're trying to prioritize getting people to that road. So down from the mountain, they might be prioritizing, or a bus cutting out of a parking spot.
Exactly. And there are also what look like sort of temporary traffic lights that are on that road to help ease traffic, because sometimes if a bus is coming or larger vehicles, like even if it's not a large vehicle, the road just isn't big enough for modern wide cars.
Yeah.
So they have to only let one lane pass at a time.
Exactly.
And that's just how it is.
So what else can you do? I apologize. I took us totally off when as soon as we talk about transportation, I get very excited. I like transportation. I don't know what it is.
No, that's great. So if you prefer to not take any transportation and just have a nice time in Vietri, you can absolutely do that. It is just a really relaxed town. There are not that many activities to do if you're in Vietri. I think actually several, maybe 3 different people teach ceramics classes if you want to take a ceramics class. But aside from that, it's just a wandering around, looking at the ceramics shops, having a nice little relaxing time. There are 3 beaches in Vietri.
Yes.
It's not the number one place for going to the beach, because the one on the far east is right next to the port of Salerno. And then the one on the far west, which is a pretty decent stretch of beach, is where the ferry will come in and out. So there's a lot of marine traffic around the beaches of Vietri, but the beaches do exist if you want to pop into the water, if you just want to lay out on the sand.
I think it's to me the sort of, I don't know, I just wouldn't go swimming near tankers, I think is part of it. And a part of it is just the sort of like, I mean, not that they're all leaking fuel, but in my head, they're definitely all leaking fuel. And I'm like, I don't want to go swimming where that's happening. I want to go swimming where it's not, where I can pretend it's not at the very least. But I think especially one of the beaches literally is along is it like a jetty, a breakwater for the port?
Yes.
So it very much is like the giant boats are coming past and you're just sort of swimming. Which again, I mean, people swim still around the Gulf of Naples without a problem. So I think that's more of a...
Yeah, it's like a personal preference.
And yeah, apparently I have weird issues around that.
Exactly. But there are beaches there. Like I'm saying, I would say the one to the far west, it is a decent stretch of beach. And although the ferry does come over there, I think you would be able to find places over there that don't feel like you're swimming with the boats.
Exactly. So how do you get around Vietri Sul Mare?
Great question. If I were going up from the beach, so we've talked about that Vietri is sort of one main street and then it cascades down. So walking is kind of the only way really to get around a lot of so the main street, Corso Umberto I, that is a pedestrian only street for the most part. And then, you can, especially residents, can take a car around. I don't know if there are any limited traffic zones or anything like that. If you're renting a car, do ask your hotel about the limited traffic zones so that you don't get a ticket.
100%.
But really, majoritively, it's walking.
There are, I think you can take a taxi from like down the beach, or if you were, some of the hotels are along the water or near the water. And I believe you can take taxis down there and then back up again, especially if you're just trying to get back to the bus stop, or if you're taking a taxi all the way from Salerno. But when we're talking about the walking around in ceramics, it's such a small place. And I'm talking like one side of Corso Umberto to the other, maybe 6 minutes, maybe. Honestly, like if you're walking, if you're just like, I'm just going to walk, I'm not going to stop and look at anything. It does branch off at one point. That adds another 3 minutes. Again, maybe. You can walk up to the church. There's a beautiful church that we did not explore because we got there a little late and mass had started. But it's open late. It's open to like 9.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, it's the reason I mentioned the church is it has that classic sort of, I don't know if people say it's Byzantine. I don't know if that's what it is, but the classic beautiful ceramic. It's the green and orange dome on top that you see from the Amalfi Coast Road. It's a kind of fun to see the church. Again, we did not see the inside since there was mass, and I don't know the protocol.
Yeah.
But that is, again, I mean, a 10-second walk away from the Corso Umberto.
Yes.
I cannot
It's all
stress
very
enough
concentrated.
how tightly concentrated everything is. So that also means there isn't really like public transportation around. There isn't. We talked about in Capri, there were those tiny little buses things, like the 2-seater buses that does not exist in Vietri. There's not even like golf carts bringing people around.
No.
I don't know if that one day might happen. So simply to say, unfortunately, it's strictly walking. And it's not the worst in terms of like evenness of road, but like
and there are teeny tiny little sidewalks on most roads that have cars as well.
When you're not on Corso Umberto, there are some tiny sidewalks, but it's still walking only, unfortunately.
Yeah. And speaking of teeny tiny little sidewalks and walking only, the farthest we went, it's not outside of Vietri, but it feels like it is because it's so concentrated, is the Villa Comunale of Vietri Sul Mare. It's the communal villa. It's not a villa. It's the little park.
Oh my God.
And
I didn't realize it was called a communal villa.
Yeah. If you look up what to do in Vietri Sul Mare, almost everyone will recommend going to see this. It is essentially like a paved over public area with a little modern amphitheater with a view over the water.
Yes, I can understand. I'm kind of curious now though the history, if it is on a villa, because it does have multiple levels. That makes sense if it's actually on a villa. And that one it's again, I was just talking about how Vietri is only walkable. This one, they have a non-functional elevator.
Yep.
Beautiful design.
But a nicely inclined ramp.
Yeah, it's all ramps around it anyway. So there are stairs as well as ramps going down to different points, like different rooms, different little flat areas with views of the worst of the beaches of the port. And then there's an amphitheater as well, as you mentioned, that they're supposed to be doing. They had a little sign up. They're doing some sort of music coming up because it's supposed to be. They have some sort of Albert Camus quote about all you need is music and a good tide or something.
That's nice.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So it looks like they host sort of musical events there, not unlike Ravello hosting musical events above the water.
Exactly. It's a cool spot to see.
It's also something you might have already seen photos of. It is, I mean, when you Google Vietri Sul Mare, it's one of the main photos that pops up because it's this really beautiful, it's like the ground is all brick, but then the railings, I think.
It's got almost a Gaudi. So he not exactly. Don't picture exactly Gaudi, but that is the famous artist in Barcelona.
Yes.
Almost like a Salvador Dali vibe. The sort of swooping ceramics, colorful. I'll post a photo on our Instagram if you want to head over to Italy Travel Podcast Instagram so you can get a real sense of what it looks like. But yeah, it's a colorful, swoopy, Gaudi-esque.
It is, and there's at various points there's little ceramic sculptures. So it's a nice little walk. Again, it's something that is right down the street from the Corso Umberto. It's worth it for photos.
Yes,
but it is not a massive sprawling location. It's something that you can.
It's almost like a public park.
Yes, yeah, you can explore it within 10 minutes type of thing.
And
I'm saying this to
relaxed.
get more like expectations, not like, I mean, you can absolutely spend longer there, bring a packed lunch and look at the view. I don't want anyone thinking, oh, we're going to spend a few hours exploring.
Nope. It is not that.
It is not that. Exactly. Exactly.
And another cool place over there that we have seen several times whenever we've been on the bus, things like that, but we went into for the first time is the Ceramica Artistica Solimene Vicenzo. That is the artistic ceramics of Solimene Vicenzo. And the outside of this building, to me, looks like a Willy Wonka ceramics factory.
Interesting. I was thinking it's where insects live, but yeah, Willy Wonka. Because it's all pots on the outside, and it has these really interesting windows, and it has the shape is quite organic, almost like it was made by insects or like
I can totally see that.
Not ants, but it has that sort of like, oh, this was carved out of stone and hollowed out.
Yeah, totally. I had not thought of it like that.
It's almost not eerie, but definitely like, it's attention grabbing for sure.
It's a little uncanny.
Yeah, it's a little uncanny.
Yeah. Again, I'll post a photo of that on our Instagram as well, so you can get a real sense of it. But the outside is made of ceramic pots.
Yes, and it's a fascinating location. You can explore the inside. It's a factory / store. It looks like you used to enter through the store portion of it, but they now ask that you enter through the factory portion of it.
Yeah, I guess so.
But it's totally open to visitors.
It's odd. I think it was in the last episode that you mentioned there's a sense like Ischia of visiting a place past the bygone era, or
yes.
there was a bygone era, and so it is kind of uncanny inside as well. There are lots of ceramics, even like on the ground. They're laying out and then up on shelves, and things are kind of dusty, which I guess is the nature of a ceramics factory. But yeah,
it's also too, I think, so many of some of what they were selling. Not they were selling tons of different ceramic things, but they clearly make plates and cups and bowls for restaurants. So even that added to this sort of sense of, it's almost like going to like a thrift store, and and then maybe not every thrift store, but it's like, oh, this is where like that restaurant that used to have their name on all the plates.
Right,
they closed
exactly.
Because it was like, how do they have 80 plates with the name of a restaurant? And actually, it was half the restaurants I was Googling just because I was curious, and it looks like most of them are closed. So I'm like, did they close before receiving these?
Or did they return them?
Did they return them?
I don't know.
I couldn't figure it out, but it was, again, that sort of sense of like, this was the place to order your bowls and your cups and your things like that and your plates when you were starting a restaurant. And now it's nothing. But it was fascinating also to know how many of them were not just Italy. Like some were Germany, some were France, and some were even just northern Italy, which obviously is still
there
Italy.
were some plates from Hong Kong, was written on some.
There was one restaurant in Hong Kong that ordered plates, which I thought was wild. I thought that I was curious if somebody found that online or if they visited and thought this is what we need. But so I was thinking, of course, now I'm like, oh, a restaurant in the States. It'd be kind of interesting if they use, ceramics from Vietri Sul Mare.
Yeah. And it is properly, I mean, like there is production going on
Yes.
inside of there.
Yeah.
There were parts that you can't go into, but it almost looks like a parking garage.
It did have that
what's
look.
the famous, the Guggenheim Museum also
Yes.
has that sort of just the ramp up
The ramp that
toward-
keeps going
yeah,
up, spiraling up, basically.
has that, but like not fancy like the Guggenheim, but in cement.
Much more practical looking.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a really interesting space.
That one seems worth it just for the experience of exploring.
Yes.
And the fact they sell tons of stuff if you are interested. But mostly I was enjoying the sort of experience of exploring.
Yeah. And then when you are on the Corso Umberto, the main street with all the ceramic shops, I want to recommend two. This is not to say that they're the best or to say that any of the others aren't equal to these two. One, we went in and we bought a little ceramic house with a cute little moon on top of it, and that is called Mezzaluna, so half moon ceramics. And then the other is Mirko Fine Art, and that is a guy, and I think his wife, who makes jewelry as well. They have more of the really fine art side, not utilitarian objects
Yes,
necessarily,
100%.
but very much this is an art piece to put in your house.
It's very much a display purposes only type thing. But he also has galleries. He's in galleries around like New York, Dubai, a few others. But he's from Vietri, which is why he has a gallery in Vietri. But I thought it was an interesting balance, if that makes sense. Like, again, that sort of thing of growing up inspired by, ceramics factories and then making it, but like, how do you make it for something that's super fine art, basically, versus that's just craft. It's like, no, how do you convince people that it's not just craft?
Exactly. And again, these are not the only two. I think these are just good examples of two of the kinds of ceramics you can find. Where we got our little house is also very much art. So that is to say that there are a lot of places that have fine art. There are a lot of places that have other kinds of art, things that are a bit more leaning into craft, just really cool places, as well as places that sell tiles. So tiles that are quite utilitarian, like you're going to put them on the floor. Others that will maybe go around a mirror or on a very special backsplash. So all kinds of things that go from utilitarian to, ooh, this is like fancy utilitarian, but maybe I don't want to touch it every day, to, wow, that's a really fun piece of like folk art, to a little bit higher end art, to all the way to, fine high end. So it's just a really, really special place, Vietri Sul
And it's
Mare.
very much worth the visit. Even if you don't spend the night, it's very much, I think, worth the visit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that has been Vietri Sul Mare.
Yeah, it was really nice. I'm really glad we got to visit and share it all with you. And we will put pictures of the town on the Instagram so you can get a better idea of what it looks like.
It's probably awful. And somebody's like, it's like colorful ceramics. And you're like, thank you. That gave me nothing to work with. I appreciate that. So yeah, you should probably check out the photos because they can say 1,000 words.
Yeah, exactly. And next week we are coming in with headlines.
We are indeed. It's been a lot, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot happening.
So we'll talk about it next week.
All right. Tanti abbracci.